Here we go. Welcome to Double Dribble Bucks. This is Seth. With me, as always, is my good friend Brett. How's it going tonight, Brett?
Things have been better, Seth. We are in a terrible state of Wisconsin sports at the moment, and the Bucks are not helping things. So I don't know. Maybe we can dive in and see if we can figure out what's going on, or maybe try to get some people to, I don't know, have some optimism. We do have a game tomorrow that should be winnable, but we've kind of said that throughout the season so far. So I don't know. I think we just need to jump in here and see how we're feeling. Do you have any initial thoughts on what you've seen so far?
The Bucks are 1-6, worst record in the league. Playing the other team with the worst record tomorrow. So that's the winnable game that you mentioned. How did we get here? 1-6, especially after an off season that Doc Rivers was looking forward to so much and talking a lot about, getting things set up like his way and fixing the problems that he noticed. We talked about him like making the notes and kind of more focused on this season than last season, even last year. After all that preparation, getting away for training camp and doing all the things that Doc thought needed to be done, getting guys that fit with the team better, because that trade with Dame kind of happened at the end of the season, and Griffin wasn't expecting that. So like all those things are kind of taken care of. We have a fresh start, ready to go, and now we're 1-6. So it is, it's like what's going on here. So I guess a few notes here. Maybe you can react to one of these or just kind of jump into what you're thinking. But just kind of a few stats here. Worst offensive rebounding team. Worst team at forcing turnovers. We're 21st in offense, 26th in defense. We're 21st in transition scoring and second to last in transition defense. And we're the worst in the league in allowing putbacks. Anything jump out at you there, or just run with what you got?
I think so. First of all, I think there was any optimism that people had trying to go into the year, because there was a lot of people. I know I talked to my brother-in-law. He's like, all right, am I going to just get more of the same, where my hopes are going to be up and this team's just going to are we just running out the same team? And we've talked about this, try to be excited, be like, no, like you got to understand, like we have a full season with Doc. We got the people that actually fit the profile of the team we were trying to do. We're going to have all this optimism. And then this is kind of what we got going on right here. And then I'm going to kind of work backwards, because the most recent game that we had against Cleveland, we didn't have Giannis out there. We played pretty well. It came down to the very end of the game and it just slipped away from us. So the first thoughts that a lot of people I think are going to have are, okay, what's going on? Is it that we are better without Giannis, which is absolutely crazy, that Giannis has to learn how to play with these guys? Or my opinion is these guys have to learn to play with Giannis. Giannis is such a unique talent that you have all these people that are just constantly just staring at him like in awe of what's happening. And the real kind of like shift I started to see was, you got guys, first of all, like Brooke and Pat, and Bobby, they play with Giannis. They're over the, oh my God, this guy's amazing, let me just stare at him. They play better with him. These other guys have got to learn that. That is going to take a couple games. But the first Cleveland game, Giannis was driving and two guys converged right on him by the basket. And Dame was smart enough to kind of roll out to the 3-point line behind Giannis. Giannis knew he was there, did a behind the back pass. Dame drained it. It was fantastic. It was like, that is exactly the type of stuff that we're looking for, that we're not seeing. And, the big thing with our transition D is still very upsetting, because what happens is when you watch these guys shoot, everybody just doesn't go for the basket, and it's like, okay, we talked about this before. If you're not going to go for the offensive rebound, get back on defense. Like, you can't do both. You can't try to do both. And we're still kind of doing the same thing, which is extremely frustrated. Nobody's getting the rebound, and then we're not getting back on defense. A huge issue that I'm noticing is that sometimes you just watch a game and you can see the other team and it just seems like their shot is on that game. The way that they're draining baskets is that extra touch where it's like the net isn't moving. It's just like pure, bucket after bucket. The Bucks almost seem tight. Like every ball is, hitting a couple times and it's coming out of the rim. And I don't know why that is. I don't think that's like a doc thing. Maybe it's like a conditioning thing or whoever their shooting coach is or whatever. But I think I don't know, there's something funky that I can't pinpoint what it is. And yeah, I don't know. I think maybe there is something to Thanasis, honestly, his presence. He's just such an upbeat guy, and I feel like they are missing a little bit of that, like, come on, we can do it. We can, like, take on the world. Because I think Giannis isn't that guy. Dame isn't that guy. They're just too serious in it. And then you start looking at other players. Brooke is that same mindset. Pat is really good, but he just is not that, leader voice. Like, maybe that's a huge part of what we're missing. But I don't know. I'll throw it back to you. But those are some of the things that were just kind of jumping out to me in these first couple games.
Yeah, it is crazy that they can be the worst offensive rebounding team and then also the worst or second worst transition defense. And we saw the similar thing last year. And I guess we just, I guess they're old as a part of it. But are they that old? I mean, Gary Trent Jr. is actually not old. And
yeah,
Prince is 30. I mean, like, what's old, I guess? And why are you just so slow at the age of 30 in the NBA? Like, is that, I don't think that happens. Like, I don't know. But so I feel like that has to, like, coaching should solve that, and like effort, I would say. So something's missing there. Like, why are you not doing that? And that kind of goes in line with not getting the turnovers. And it's just like there's not enough energy. There's not enough, like, getting in people's faces. There's not deflections. There's, steals and blocks are pretty low. I guess except for Lopez getting blocks. And just all of that is seemingly coming down to effort for me. And it's just like, that's not there. Or they're just too slow. But I mean, Giannis isn't slow, Or I guess another reason is like they're in a bad position and they just have no clue what they're doing on defense. I mean, I guess that's also possible because it's a new scheme. But I don't know. So, I mean, one example out of that is Taurean Prince. Like, he's not bad. He doesn't even look that bad when he's out there. It just doesn't seem like much is happening. Like, is he? It seems like there's plays that he should be making that are not happening. And then you put Ajax in the game and those plays are happening. And it's like that kind of a player and those kinds of plays just aren't on the floor really without Ajax. I don't know who else is making those plays. And it does seem like we're missing a lot, So last year, I guess it was Pat Bev kind of did that a little bit. He at least gave that energy and was up in people's faces and kind of making stuff happen, instigating. And, occasionally it's a negative, he's making a stupid technical foul or something. But for the most part, that's a positive thing. So Ajax has that. Last year we had Ajax and Pat Bev. I'm not sure if anyone else has that. And DeLon Wright hasn't really played that much, but also he kind of seems like he's figuring out where to go and like how to be, and he's not assertive enough. So yeah, I think that's a big thing that we're missing. And that Ajax will somewhat solve now that he's going to hopefully be continuing to play more.
Yeah, I think, when you watched Ajax play, especially that last game, it just really hits on what we had last year, which is he's got to be playing more. And you have to kind of live and die by the way that he plays, which is going to be, he's going to play fast, he's going to have a lot of energy, and he's going to annoy somebody on the other team. When he was out there, Donovan Mitchell was getting frustrated. He was not putting up the best shots. And yeah, Ajax is getting a ton of fouls. He's probably going to foul out every game. And I'm totally fine with it. Because as soon as he comes out and they start playing something else where they're attacking guys like AJ Green and Dame, then they go off. Like, you can understand that those guys are just not the best at defense, but that's okay. But to your point, I think there's a lot of players that I don't see that they're playing defense at all. It just seems like they're all out and we just have different shooters. And we're like, if we're going to go this like Mike D'Antoni route of, okay, like defense doesn't matter if we can outshoot them, then we have to make some shots. And we're not doing that. Like, we're not even setting up like a great offense. It's like, we've been touching on this a couple of times. It just doesn't seem like they know what they're doing. Like, am I supposed to be, slowing it down and then the other team's going to run it right past us. Like we're not controlling the pace. We're not controlling the energy of the game. We have all these guys, like you said, like we do look slow, but 30 shouldn't be slow in the NBA. Like it's really not that big a deal. I think like if our entire job was just to be in shape, like for a bunch of old guys, we'd be okay. But I mean, like these guys are in their prime and it looks just like they're just dragging. And I something's missing and I can't figure out what that is. But you nailed it. We look slow and just we're not passing the eye test by any stretch.
Yeah. But before we get into some other players, let's stick with Ajax for a minute here. I looked up a couple stats. The Bucks are plus 14.4 per 100 possessions with Ajax on the court. And only Lopez and Lillard have better numbers than that. Even Giannis was only like plus 5.4 or something like that. So it's a somewhat limited, small sample size, but it's a decent amount. He's played about 20% of possessions this season. The Bucks are plus 2.8 with him on the court, just period. And then the defensive rating with him off the court, 123.1. With him on the court, 105.1. So significantly better defense when Ajax is playing, which I guess is not surprising. So yeah, he definitely looks the part. He looks like a difference maker when he's out there. The Bucks seem to be playing better defense and having better energy, and then the numbers back that up. So the downside to Ajax is kind of a weird offense, doesn't always know what to do. Sometimes it seems like, why are you not just trying to make a layup? And he doesn't even look at the basket, and he'll just like pass it out. Like he's in a great spot to get a really good, like 5-foot attempt or something, and he'll pass it out to a guy who's guarded at the 3-point line. So he needs to, and sometimes he'll just pass up wide open threes. I've seen him do that a few times this season. That last game, he was definitely more willing just to take the shot, thankfully. And he ended up, I think, 2 for 6, which is okay, but he needs to be able to take the shot. Like if someone drives and kicks it and he's wide open for 3, like you just have to take that shot. And hopefully you're going to be good enough to make at least a third of them, hopefully more than that. So I think the other side is the offense hasn't been great without Ajax. I don't really think he's been making the offense slow down. I guess that's part of it.
No.
We probably need to just figure things out on the offensive end. So yeah, overall, Ajax just clearly is the guy, and it's just weird. Like, I guess maybe we need to give Doc a break. He's got to figure it out. And all these coaches are always just playing the veterans so much, before they go to the younger guys. So it's not really just a Doc thing for doing that. And it's only 7 games. It's not like he's waiting half the season. But, we saw enough of Ajax last year, and it's just like he gets DNP'd, a couple games in the beginning. It's like, what's going on here? Like Prince is fine. Taurean Prince, like all the Lakers fans hate him. And I don't think he was starting the second half of the year. And it's just like, it's not like these are like, we're asking Lillard to sit on the bench so that Ajax can come in. It's like, hey, Gary Trent Jr. is 0 for 10. Maybe sit him down, or, like PC's having a terrible game again. Why don't we give Ajax some minutes? So anyhow, Doc does seem to be figuring some of these things out. And that's really good to see, and hopefully he sticks with it. But yeah, Doc's kind of been all over the place with the lineups and throwing people in different spots. Ryan Rollins was in the game for 10 minutes. So
yeah. Doc is definitely figuring some things out, and I think that's what a coach does. The other thing, though, with the coaching staff is, number one, we talk about lack of energy. They could not look more disinterested in actually being at the game. Doc and Darvin Ham look like they're just like waiting for a sandwich, and it's like, come on, like do something. But the other thing is, do we officially have 47 coaches on that team, or what? Because last time I looked, we had like 4 rows worth of coaches. And I think we only have 15 guys. So we have at least 3 coaches per guy. You would have to imagine somebody there is like, all right, like, can I tell you what's to try this or do that? Like, there's nothing that says you have to play these veterans, and you have a stable full of coaches. Like, what are they all doing there? Like, next time to watch the game, it is seriously like the most coaches I've ever seen in my entire life. And I'm not enough of a basketball historian, but did we always have like so many coaches, or is this like a new thing? Because I mean, I'm just shocked at how many.
Yeah.
There's at least a dozen. There's like legitimately at least a dozen coaches.
Oh yeah, yeah, there are. And last year was the first year I realized that, and I don't know. Has it been increasing? How many coaches are on? Is it just the Bucks? I mean, I haven't really honestly paid enough attention to like when I'm watching other teams play. Do they have 15 coaches behind the bench? We should look for that. I don't know, but last year is the first time I noticed it. Like, wow, there's so many guys, and I think we made a joke about it last year too. I thought I saw that there are less coaches this year compared to last year, but I don't know if that's true. Like... And then you got Rajon Rondo, who's not a coach, but he's like always with the team. I don't, so I'm not sure what qualifies.
So that's a thing that like they've been doing, and I don't know if that's again a Bucks thing or whatever, but like every year they have like a guest coach, and it's not like a coach necessarily. I mean, like one year they had Kevin Garnett. You're like, okay, I get it. Like you brought a retired guy. Let's try this. Mm-hmm. But then you get Rajon Rondo, and it's like, is he still playing or not? Like, should he be on the team? Like, I don't understand why he's there. Like, and then the year before, now I'm totally forgetting who it was, but yeah, they had like another person. It's like, I don't understand the mindset of what you're trying to do. And I don't think Rondo is better than anybody on our team to be giving us a lot of advice. I mean, give me more like retired Kevin Garnett's. That's fine. Like I will listen to what he's going to say, but I don't know many people lining up to get Rondo's opinion. I'm not trying to, shit on him, but I don't know. That was kind of surprising.
He was known to have be a cerebral player, one of the higher IQ basketball players is kind of his reputation. And obviously he was on the championship team and, was a very good point guard for that team.
That's true.
But yeah, in his later years, he was actually kind of a weird player where one year he was on the Mavericks and he, I don't know what happened there. And then I think the next year he was actually like really helpful for whoever he played for. So it was, he had kind familiar. Of an odd career at the end there. But yeah, I mentioned Gary Trent Jr. So let's talk about him for at least a minute. So he's shooting 23% from 3, 40% from 2. He's a negative 7.5 per 100 possessions. He doesn't look that bad to me. When I'm watching him play, I'm seeing him run around guys. He's running over screens, staying with the guy. Like it doesn't seem like he's a bad defender. It seems like he's giving a lot of energy. He's just missing shots. Outside of him missing shots, I'm not sure that he's really a problem, but I mean, it hasn't been good. So I guess, what do you think about his defense and like off ball? Is he a problem? Do you think it's awkward for him out there and he's kind of messing things up? Or is it just simply he's missing shots? Once he starts making shots, it's going to be totally fine.
Well, I think you nailed it when you said that he doesn't look bad, but he also doesn't look like the guy that was going for a $25 million a year contract. Like, watching it with Ashley, she's like, wait, who? Like that's the guy that wanted like the big contract? And I'm like, yeah, it's not looking like he deserves it by any stretch. Like he seems like he's in the right role right now. And that's, I can't figure that out. I'm hoping he's just not getting shots to fall. And again, that maybe goes back to like, every offseason, there's some guy on Twitter who claims that he's like a shot coach that like can fix any shot in the world. And you know what I'm talking about. And it's like, okay, so if that's a thing, so maybe that's something that's significantly missing on the Bucks, because if Gary Trent Jr. can't find his shot, if Dame is having these nights where he's struggling, like, is there something to do with that? Did they just let him? Is Doc just such a veteran coach where he's like, yeah, you're fine. Like, just shoot around. You'll be fine. Like, you'll figure it out. Or are they actually working with them and maybe figuring out there's something going on? I mean, I think of like Christian Watson figuring out that his, calves weren't like working out at the same level, and that was causing a problem. Like, do we have people on the staff that are doing that? But I don't know. Gary Trent Jr., I think I'm optimistic that he's going to get this stuff to figure it out. I feel like his shot is just not there, and he looks like he's learning a new system with Doc. Dame was just out saying that he would absolutely not fire Doc, so they must have something in the building that they're liking as players.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's just a complex system, and that's something where we're looking at. I mean, it's tough because casual basketball fans are going to look at the Lakers. JJ Redick comes in, he's all of a sudden having success right out the gate, and it's like, okay, wow, like what's going on? Like, why can't Doc do that same thing? Well, maybe JJ Redick just has a very simple game plan, and Doc's is more complicated, and it just takes time to learn it. I don't know. Trent, I think, needs to be a better defender. I think he's not bad, but there's a lot of guys that I think just need to step up, and he definitely fits the bill of like, all right, like come in here and show us that you are the opposite of Malik Beasley, where you can be an offensive threat, but you're going to help us mainly on the defensive front so that we can get these stars to shoot. Because look, I don't care if you're Gary Trent Jr. looking for $25 million a year. When you're playing with Dame and Giannis, you are at best the third option. Like, you have got to understand that, and maybe that's just where some of the struggles come from.
Yeah, and so seeing AJ Green go 7 for 9, he played like 35 minutes or something last game. Did he just go from DNP to starter in 2 games? Is he going to take the starting role until Gary Trent Jr. gets things figured out, or is Gary Trent Jr. still going to keep that starting role and maybe have a shorter leash?
Yeah, I think he's probably going to keep the starter role. I mean, Green looked fantastic. I think we've noticed in the last couple of years he's improving every single season. He's not going to be consistent. He's not a 30-point a night guy, and I don't know if he ever will be, but that's okay. Like, we don't need that. But he needs to know that role of when you come in, you got to be hot. And that's, I think, the nice thing about some of the guys we have. You can have those short leashes, but I don't know. Green looked really good. His defense is similar to a PC in the sense that it's good, but it's not going to stop anybody. Like, you're not going to put him on the best guy. And if you're having some of these lineups where you have like Green, PC, Dame, and then Bobby, and I don't know, it's like, okay, well, what are you doing there? Like, that's a really kind of weak defensive team. Like, again, not to say that they can't stop somebody, but that's not who you're putting out there for a lot of defensive stops. So I don't know. I'm thinking Trent is going to continue to start, but I don't know. Green deserved it, that's for sure. After that, I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with him starting every once in a while. Mm-hmm. This is the time of the year that we talked about. You got to try these different lineups and see what's going to work. You don't have to stick to something. It's not set in stone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, my guess is Doc's not going to yank him off the starting. It seems like a big deal, especially from a veteran guy like Doc, to do that in terms of changing the starting position. He did it last year with Beasley, but that was, after a number of games. That's actually maybe a good comparable. So I forget when that happened exactly, but Beasley shot extremely well first half of the year. Part of that Doc wasn't here, but still, just, the numbers were there. He was the 50% 3-point shooter. And then just continually was kind of getting worse each month. And so I think it was like a couple months of not great shooting. And, it wasn't 23% Gary Trent Jr., but, it wasn't very good. And he's not a great defender. And so at some point, Doc made that change. And like what you said, AJ Green, is he a better defender than Gary Trent Jr.? Like, I don't know. I'd say maybe they're similar. I mean, AJ Green is actually pretty impressive. Just, looking at the guy, you wouldn't expect him necessarily to, he seems just more like a 3-point specialist who just kind of gets by on defense, but he seems a little bit better than just getting by on defense. He's actually keeping the opponent in front of him for the most part. So I'm pretty happy with his defense, but yeah, I don't think he's not like a pat bet. You're not putting him in because of defense. So yeah, my guess is Gary Trent Jr. is going to get a shorter leash though. I mean, I don't even think he played the second, or maybe he started the second half, but then he didn't go back in the most recent game. And maybe that makes sense. Maybe Doc should do some of that, because we have a few guys who are pretty talented and can play a lot of minutes. It's just they can't play a lot of minutes in the same game. So if someone's not doing well, especially a 3-point guy, you got Gary Trent Jr. and you got AJ Green. If one of them's doing terribly, like, yeah, don't put him back in the second half. Just roll with the other guy, or maybe tried. Then you got Ajax and you got PC and you got there's enough wing guard type guys where, stick with the hot hand sometimes. And so Doc did an awesome job of that this past game. Too bad it didn't lead to a W. But I have to give Doc credit. I mean, he coached that game pretty well. We're down Giannis, first of all. Then Gary Trent Jr. can't make a basket. And then, like we're saying, he stuck with AJ Green when he can't miss the 3-point shoot. So it's like part of me wants to just rail on Doc, but part of me is like, I don't know. It's kind of tough. It's not like we have this incredible roster. I mean, Middleton's been out all year too. So the problems are, unfortunately, it's not one concrete, hey, let's just change this one thing and we're going to be totally great. It's kind of hard to nail down what needs to happen here.
I think, some of this, I still think a lot has to do with the captains on the team maybe not having enough voice yet. I don't know. I think Dame sometimes seems a little hesitant, he's not comfortable with it being his team yet. And, it's always going to be Giannis's team over him. I get that. And he gets that. But at the same time, you're not just a guest star. You are in the main cast now. You got to be able to speak up. You got to yell at guys. You got to get things going. I think Bobby looks out of place this year. And I don't know what's going on with him. And I understand, recently his home got burglarized, but that doesn't make sense for the previous games. But he just doesn't seem, I don't know, he's got the energy or something. So I don't know, there's something missing in the team. And I don't want to go right after Doc because I don't know that he controls that stuff or not, but there's some vibe going on. You would think if he said, look, we got to get away, that's going to be all right, this team's got a bond and we have to have voices and we have to be vulnerable and we have to be able to talk to each other. Based on what I'm seeing on a couple games, I don't think that's what they did, which is the only really thing that's giving me some nervous feeling is, I don't know, there's something that's just lacking with the chemistry. And that's the one thing that I would all right, you can lose a game as long as you look like you're playing well together, you're showing some progress, but I don't know that there's significant progress outside. I mean, the most recent game, that was significant progress from some of the other ones, but beyond that, I don't know. I don't know. It's very confusing right now.
Yeah, we'll stick with Bobby for a minute here. Yeah, he's having a horrible start to the season. It doesn't look good. Eye test doesn't look good. He's still getting rebounds, I guess, although there are times where he's being outworked on the boards.
Yeah.
And it seems like he's just not giving 100% effort, kind of thinks I got this, and the other team is just putting in that effort and taking it from him. So there's some of that, but one of the stats I looked up that was kind of oh, wow. On Cleaning the Glass, you can look at lineups and you can say, all right, what are the lineups without Bobby Portis, compared to with Bobby Portis? Okay. So there's 301 possessions without Bobby Portis. And that's a plus. And the Bucks have a plus 4.8 net rating with him off the floor. If I did that with other players, I was like, all right, what are the Bucks with Damian Lillard off the floor? What are they with just Giannis off the floor? Just Brook. Every single player who plays real minutes, it was a negative net rating when they were off the floor. The only player when the Bucks actually did better with him off the floor was Bobby Portis. And if you look at the on-off stats, the Bucks are negative 24.4 per 100 possessions with Bobby Portis on the floor. So again, 7 games, pretty small sample size, but those are pretty severe numbers in terms of how much of a negative he has been this season. He's only shooting 22% from 3, so that's part of the problem, is he's just not making those threes. Part of the problem might be he's taking less threes and he's taking more long mid-range 2s. I don't like that. In modern NBA, that's the exact opposite thing you want to do. So why is that moving in the wrong direction? So then add on top of that just bad shooting percentage. So yeah, it hasn't looked good, and the numbers really support that. So just compared to PC, honestly hasn't looked good until this past game. The numbers aren't even close to that. I think he's a negative I should have written that down, but I think he's just like a -1 net rating for him on off. It's not -24.4 or whatever. So
Yeah.
or maybe Bobby's -19.5 plus minus actually. So yeah, pretty bad. And then so a lot of people are blaming PC, and honestly, he hasn't looked good. I definitely want like Ajax and AJ Green to kind of get minutes instead of him, but it's not even close to that. So yeah. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you touched on something too with Bobby, where it's just like that effort for like the rebounds, and I think that's something that I've even complained at before, where it's like the rebounds coming, you kind of just like casually like, oh, it's going to come to me, whereas the other team has that extra energy to be like, well, I'm going to go get the rebound, and it's that lack of energy that is you're definitely seeing. It's like, oh, like as a veteran player, I know that this is just going to happen. It's like, okay, well, that's why you look slow, because the ball is coming off the rim, you know it's coming to you, so you casually go to grab it, and that's not how it works. I mean, look at the game where what was it, Prince was inbounding it to Giannis, and we almost lost the ball because it's just a casual, throw it in. Like, you're not actually having any I don't know, goal when you're doing it. Like, you're not forcing anything to happen. And it's something too that I've been noticing a lot. Like, I've always had an issue with like the way that the NBA is changing. The 3-point shot is going to be what everybody's going to go for, and it's gotten to the point that we grow up playing basketball, and one of the first things you're always taught is you keep your body between the basket and the other player. Well, you don't see that in the NBA, because what's going to happen is someone's going to drive to the hoop, and the defenders are going to be behind him or to the side, worried about him dishing it out for the three. Well, why can't we just take the layup sometimes? Like, you're better just getting a basket. And if you continue to do, and I think the Boston Celtics are really good about that, because they'll just take the layup. Like, all right, you're just going to give it to me. Like, I'll gladly take it. Like, I'd rather get several twos back to back to back than wait for that three, because if you miss one, they score, you miss another one, now you're in a serious hole and you're playing catch up. But yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of what's going on with Bobby right now. It's like, are you just expecting things to kind of happen a certain way? Have you just lost all aggressive input? I don't know. I'm hoping it's just slow start jitters, I guess. I don't know how to word that, but I don't know.
Yeah. Can't explain it, but he needs to be better for sure.
Yep.
And they're probably trying to trade him, I would guess. And he's
really the like PC, for people getting frustrated. Like you said, he doesn't have the trade value. He's going to be a buck. Like, I just don't see a lot of people going crazy for him. Brook maybe, but Brook is the oldest, slowest guy on the Bucks. Like, I don't know how many people are getting super excited for him. So it is Bobby that we're going to have to watch for. And if he can't, it's to the point that, I love Bobby Portis, but if he's going to continue to play the way he is right now, then yeah, he's got to go, just because it's going to just drag the team down if that's the way it is. Like, you got to figure out what to fix and do it.
Yeah. I wonder if Robbins, I don't even know, is that his name? The like two-way contract big guy?
Rollins, yeah.
Well, I think Rollins is the guard.
Oh. Yeah, you're right.
And I think Robbins is the big guy. I mean, we never see him play, barely. And he's on a two-way. It's not like a real... Let me find it real quick. It is Liam Robbins. Whoever that is. He's played one game. 2 minutes. He's played 2 minutes, so that's why we don't know his name.
Yeah, anyway. There you
go. So he's a big guy. And maybe Doc will just throw him in, see what he can do. Kind of like he threw Rollins in for 10 minutes the last game.
Yeah.
And then Rollins looked great. Like, he looked really comfortable. That was what was surprising. He just looked very comfortable. I wasn't afraid that he was going to turn it over, like you are a lot of times with like this young guy who hasn't played. Now he's in playing real minutes. You're kind of like, oh, he's going to make a mistake. Yeah, he had kind of a veteran presence, but he's only 22 years old. So
yeah, he looked great. That was good.
What do you think about him playing over DeLon Wright? Like, is Wright? Maybe we haven't talked about DeLon Wright much, and I don't really have much to say about it. But is he not doing well? Is he too slow? Is he? What's the deal?
Yeah, I mean, he really something's off with him for sure because yeah, he's to the point where he's not even getting playing time. And it was I'm not going to call any of the people we got in the offseason, big signings by any
Mhm.
stretch. But he was one of the guys that we got to come in. I expected something, and yeah, the fact that he's just not getting again, maybe it is that Doc has a really complicated system, and some guys just are not picking it up, and that's what it is. Maybe it's an energy within the locker room type thing. I don't know. I can't figure it out. I don't have a ton on that one either.
Yeah, I mean, it's basketball. They've been playing it their whole lives. Shouldn't be that complicated. Whatever this
Shouldn't.
offensive or defensive
Yeah.
scheme. And the defensive coordinator of our team, Buckner, I believe. I'm trying to blank on his name, but he's some defensive guru, and Doc has been giving him the reins to like do the defense. He's the guy in charge. So that, before the season started, there was a lot of talk about that, and there's a lot of optimism. Our defense, we're going to get it back. We're going to be great. And it's kind of looked the same. It's not great. It's actually pretty bad. And I don't know what's even different about it. It's like the same problems are happening. And so, yeah, maybe it's just the players aren't good enough. I don't know. But I thought DeLon Wright was going to be that Pat Bev replacement in terms of the defensive side of it and be, defensive energy and kind of locking up the other player if we need that. And maybe he's just getting old. He's 32, turning 33. Maybe he's kind of hitting that wall. That is around the age. Some of these guards hit the wall. 33 is what at least other people have said that. It's not like I've followed it necessarily, but yeah, maybe that's the thing because he was a top 50 defender supposedly last year. So yeah, a little disappointing. My last note was just, it'd be great to play more small ball because I think we'd be great. I think we are great. I mean, we only have 15 possessions with Giannis at center, and we're plus 52.5. Obviously, not many possessions, but I think we just need to do it more. We want to win games. We can't go 1-6. I know you don't want to do that too much in the regular season, but you also have to win games. And there's a number of lineups that we're playing against that we can and should go small ball. And actually, Brooke, by the numbers, is having a pretty awesome year, and the on-off numbers and things like that for Brooke Lopez were kind of off the charts, which is a little surprising to me. But I mean, if the matchup makes sense, he's awesome, and if it doesn't make sense, get him off the floor and let's do more small ball. And unfortunately, Bobby Portis has kind of sucked and hasn't really been able to be a good backup for Brooke, and so that's where maybe Robbins will get some time. We'll see. Yeah, I think we're about there with sitting Bobby, and if we're sitting Bobby, I think Robbins is the guy to back up Brooke Lopez if we need a big guy, or like I just said, go small ball. So yeah, kind of curious what's going to happen there because I kind of hope that Doc just doesn't do the same thing with Bobby. Like Bobby's getting 26.3 minutes per game. Like he should not get 20 minutes, unless he's playing great.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we've talked about before. It's like all these guys need to have a short leash, except for obviously Dame and Giannis. They're you got to give them all game to figure it out. We're gonna live and die by Dame having those nights where he's 1 for 8 in the first half, and you're like, God, this guy, like, what the hell? Because he's gonna follow it up another night where he's 8 for 8, and you're like, okay, this guy's like unstoppable. But guys like Bobby, like, all right, you're going to give you 10 minutes to see what you do, and then we'll adjust from there. And Brooke, like, do we have to start you every game? Like, all right, if we have to, like, all right, we're going to play you for 5 minutes, and then we're going to kind of assess where we're going to be depending on the matchup. But yeah, like, you got to be able to, like, you don't have to play with a short bench. You can play with a long bench in the, especially the beginning of the season. Try some stuff out, see what's going to work. Like, this is the time for it because as soon as you get after Christmas and after the All-Star break, like that's when you really are fine tuning. At this point, it's like, all right, let me just see what I got. And yeah, if I'm paying guy A $8 million a year, but guy B is playing, making $2 million, but playing better, like you don't have to play the guy that's making 8, like just play to win at this point. So
yeah. Okay, well, it sucks that we're 1-6, but it's interesting to see what's going to happen. So that's the positive side. And yeah, we definitely hope to bounce back against the other worst team in the league tomorrow. But then we have two tough opponents, the Knicks and the Celtics, I believe, are right after that. So yeah, we'll see what they do. We'll come back next week and talk about it. But before we leave, I got a couple more things. We got mailbag, and I did have a flop corner, the first of hopefully, probably many Celtics in the flop corner. This one is the coach, Joe Mazzulla. Here's the quote that he said. The biggest thing that we rob people of from an entertainment standpoint is you can't fight anymore. I wish you could bring back fighting. I just don't get why some sports are allowed to clear the benches. We just have a ball. The other sport has one of the hardest surfaces and playing instrument and pucks and sticks, and we're not allowed to throw down a little bit. Okay, so I've always, growing up, people watch hockey and like at your friends, the kids, they like, oh, hockey's great because they fight. That's like a thing that like kids will say. Yeah, because they're kids. When we're adults, we're watching sports that are legitimate and we like the sport, and we're not watching hockey because they fight. And we certainly aren't watching basketball because maybe they're going to punch each other in the face. We're watching basketball. It's a great game. Like, he actually wants to minimize the sport that he is a head coach in the league for by saying that we should have fighting. By the way, they like, do you want guys to like get concussions and get hurt and or like break their eye socket and now they're out for the season? It was, to me, it was like an all-time really stupid take, which Joe Mazzulla is known for saying some kind of out there things, which is kind of great sometimes. Like, he watches The Town every day was something he said before.
Really?
Yeah. Which is hard to believe. Like,
that is very hard.
Just saying that. I don't know. I mean, it's a good movie, but
yeah.
And it's Boston. I think that's probably why he said it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, fighting. He wants to bring back fighting in basketball, and he's comparing it to hockey, as if hockey. There's this great thing about hockey is that they clear the benches and fight. I mean, I don't get it. That's just a ridiculous take.
Yeah, well, it's, hockey with the fighting is the same as the people that watch NASCAR hoping that there's a car accident.
Yes.
It's like, people die when that happens, FYI. And also, like, to your point, it's like people don't fight as much as you think they do. Like, that's not really a thing. And, by the way, there was a kind of pretty big fight in the NBA, between Indiana and Detroit, and that kind of maybe ruined it for everybody. So maybe that's a reason why we're not fighting as much. But, to your point too, it's like, we don't want these people to actually get hurt. Like, there are NBA players where I'll watch them play and I legitimately am like, I hate you watching you play, but I don't want to watch you like get a concussion or break your leg. I mean, come on, like, what the hell? I mean, maybe someone just needs to come up and punch Joe Mazzulla to start the game and just say, we'll have a game where Doc, is like, all right, right, I need you to show me something. Go over there and punch Mazzulla in the face and get this thing started. And within the first 30 seconds, we got a brawl. But I don't know. That's dumb. I mean, I can maybe understand that, sometimes the league comes across a little soft, but yeah, we're not fighting. That's not really the way things go. That is a really stupid thing to say.
Let's ask this question. So he was saying from an entertainment standpoint. So let's say they allowed fighting, which again, I don't even know what that means. Did they ever allow fighing? Like, there are penalties.
No,
like, of course you can fight, but then there's a consequence to fighting. Even in hockey, I guess I don't watch hockey enough. I think they just get like 5 minutes.
There's like a penalty. Yeah, exactly. There's something. Yeah.
At least there's somewhat of a penalty. Anyhow, is the entertainment value of the NBA, does that get better if there are more fights? Because that's his main premise here. Do you think do you think more people are going to watch NBA basketball if they allow, like, the two guys start fighting and the refs wait, a minute before they break it up, like in hockey? Is that something that's going to improve the entertainment value and we get more viewership?
No, I mean, look, if anytime there's a fight and it's typically Rudy Gobert nowadays or Draymond Green, like you're going to tune into Sports Center and find out what happened and take a look at it. But you're not going to be watching the next Minnesota game just to see if Rudy Gobert like gets in a fight, because he's not going to. It happens once a year and that's it. And that's the end of it. But the other thing too is like back in the day when that was like a thing is people were maybe looking for some more aggressive sports. Well, nowadays you have UFC, you have, I think the WWF is still kind of a thing. Like there's enough things where people are legit fighting that you can tune in for that. But like basketball, you want rivalries, you want shit talking, you want guys that truly don't like other guys, but you aren't going to watch them punch each other because look, one of the most intimidating people in the world is Shaquille O'Neal. And there's highlights of him completely missing punches. Like, he doesn't know how to fight. Like, I'm not saying that to say that Shaq could not kick my ass, because I know for sure he would. And he'd kick a lot of people's asses. But you look at him swing when he's got literally no idea anyone else is going to stop him, and he misses. It's like these guys are not here to fight. It's not going to be a thing. Like, no, it's not going to happen. Like, be a little more rough, fine, that's okay. Like, I can see that a little bit, but actually fighting, first of all, I don't think people need another reason to watch the NBA. NBA is just fantastic. But throw that in there, I'd actually feel like I'd not be as entertained.
Yeah, I agree. Fix the replay situation, fix calling fouls, which they actually have improved on. We don't need fighting, Joe Mazzulla.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a couple of mailbag questions before we go here. So thanks to Bob and Chris, our biggest fan, for giving us some questions here. Here's a legitimate one. How many, and we haven't really talked about this, which maybe we should have. How many games does Middleton play this season?
That is a great question. I am trying to look because I know that you had sent some info about how many games that he has played in the past.
He played 55 games last season and 33 the season before that. And then before that, it was always in the 60s plus.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to say a safe bet, I'm going to say that he's going to be over 50. I think that's fair. I mean, it's, from my understanding of the procedure, he had the ankle issues where he was rolling his ankle, spraining his ankle, however you want to word that, and it just was not healing the way it was supposed to. So he had a procedure that, quote, cleaned it up, whatever that means.
Yeah, whatever that is.
I can't imagine that's overly difficult. If it's a cleanup, it just seems like it's, I don't know, something easy. So he's probably just building strength back. And, when you're a professional athlete, these guys, we get to a point where we get out of bed in the morning, we're like, oh, that hurts, that's weird, or this hurts and that's weird, but we have to go on with our day. Those guys know their bodies and what they can deal with and when they can't. And when they're going out to compete at a high level, they're going to be 100%. They're not going to go out there and be like, yeah, the ankle feels pretty good, it's probably 85%. They're like, that's not worth the risk. We'll wait a little bit longer until they feel better. And I'm fine with him not having a timetable on it right now. I don't anticipate him playing in November. I don't. I think that we're going to see him about mid-December. And if the cleanup procedure went well, I foresee him being able to play the rest of the season. He's not an injury-prone player, like you've said in the past. He's getting this tag that he is, and I just don't think that's the way it is. I think he's going to come back and be better than ever after this.
I certainly hope so. So yeah, I guess the bet here is that he doesn't get hurt again. That he's going to come back, and we don't know exactly when he's going to come back. So we're kind of guessing on that, and we're going to guess that he's going to miss 20, 25 games, I guess.
Yeah.
And then starts playing. So, and then, maybe he rests a couple back-to-backs and things like that. So yeah, maybe he'll miss 30 games. That brings us to 52 games.
Yeah.
So that would maybe be my guess. And that's probably around what you're saying too, is he gets back and then he's just healthy for the season. I mean, obviously we're not going to just assume that he gets hurt again. And that seems to be where it's going to be. Now, we all thought he was going to be ready to play day one. That's why this is a big talking point. And it does suck that he's still hurt, and now we don't know when he's going to be back. And that's not great. It's not the best news. It's not what you want to hear. You want to hear that he looks great. He's playing 5-on-5. He's ready to go, whatever. But yeah, it definitely at the same time seems like they're just being extra careful that he is on the way back to being able to play. And it doesn't seem like we should have like a concern that he's going to need another surgery. I guess that would be kind of worst case scenario. Haven't heard anything like that. So hopefully that's not the case. And yeah, I'm going to go 52 games.
I like it. Yeah, I think it's definitely 50 plus, whether that's 50, 51, 52, or 58. Like, I don't know. I think it'll be north of 50 for sure.
Okay. All right. Chris had one. He asked, if you had to choose between David Gruber and the Nicolet Law guy, who would you rather have come in and play 10 minutes of a Bucks game?
I mean, it's easy for me. Gruber all the way. I don't like Russell Nicolet at all.
Wait, current age Gruber?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
He is like the Wisconsin urban legend is David Gruber. The highlight of my life was when the Bucks won. I think it was either the year they won it or maybe the year right after. There was like a guy reporting outside of Fiserv, like by himself, like nobody was around. He's just like, hey, I'm just on scene so that you realize this is where the Bucks play. And out of nowhere, here comes David Gruber just walking there. And it's like, what are you doing? Just walking in the shadows of Fiserv on a sidewalk. Like, what are you doing? So I think he's crazy enough that he could come in and give us a legit 10 minutes. Russell Nicolet, I think, seems like a fake person to me. Like, I don't get it. I think, like, are you from Wisconsin? You came out of nowhere. Like, like you really just seems like you don't belong guy. Like,
yes.
It's like, hey, it's me. It's Russell Nicolet, guys, from Wisconsin. We're like, yeah, I don't think so. I don't know who you are, but I think you might be lost. You should probably leave. And he's like, no, it's me. And nobody's excited for him. I also don't like, I'm sorry, but if you're going to have a lawyer, like your commercial shouldn't be you answering the phone being like, yeah, you got Nicolet. I'd be like, yeah, I'm done. I'll call somebody else. Like, don't answer the phone like that. That's like, are you annoyed that you're answering it? Like, are you doing a shtick with me? No, I'm done.
I have a serious situation going on here. Like, I need a serious person on the other
line. I've been in a really bad accident. Like, don't answer the phone like that. I need some help.
Yeah, well, that's a good answer. I agree with the answer, but I have maybe a different reason. So Gruber, of course, his slogan is one call, that's all, which is just a all-time great slogan.
All-time,
even if you hate it because you've heard it so many times and because it's really weird when you see him say it on the commercials. That's a great slogan. I mean, I gotta hand it to him. That's like Saul Goodman kind of a territory.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then you have Nicolet. Apparently, I didn't even actually know this, but I looked it up, and insurance companies fear the beard is his trademarked slogan. Okay, so here's the real like, oh, that's a red flag. Fear the beard. And now we're playing NBA basketball. So maybe it depends where you lie in this, but to me, especially now in 2024, that's a red flag. Okay, that's a James Harden reference, and I don't want anything to do with James Harden in 2024. And honestly, I really don't want James Harden to lead my team ever.
Yeah,
just because he's kind of, I don't love that style. Kind of like Luka. Like Luka's incredible, but I don't really want Luka on my team. But Harden is much worse, especially now. And so, that's a red flag. Insurance companies fear the beard. I don't want that guy on the court. I'm going to go with 79. I don't know how old David Gruber is. Old and frail David Gruber just shouting out his slogan. He'll probably come up with an awesome, phrase when he like hits a three or juke someone and dunks it because he's going to dunk it. When he does, he'll do something on the court and then he'll have an awesome phrase to go with it. And, I'm in for that. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go Gruber.
Gruber is the obvious winner. I think I dislike Russell Nicolet more now that I know that slogan. I'm just going to throw that out there because I just don't like it at all. It's like, look, if you're going to do that, just say fear of the beard. Like,
that's what I thought, and maybe he says that or something, but on the website, the trademark slogan was insurance companies fear the beard.
It's like Gruber, like trying it out and being like, pick up the phone and make a single call to Gruber. No, it doesn't sound very good. Like, no, I like it. I like the idea. I want to say pick up the telephone. That's part of the slogan. Like, that's what I want to make sure. Just he's got to shorten it, and yeah, I don't. I'm done with Russell Nicolet. Is never going to be my lawyer. I'm just going to put that out there right now. By the way, this segment is brought to you by
Nicolet Law.
Nicolet Law.
By the way, where is the original Nicolet Law? Where is he from?
So I have a theory about that, believe it or not. I have a theory that he is not the original Nicolet because I just don't buy it. The guy looks like he could maybe be between the ages of 28 and 48. So to have like a multi-state law firm set up, I don't know. I'm not buying it. So I'm thinking that his dad started it and he just kind of expanded on it. But I'm willing to bet that it's not originally from Wisconsin. I think he was originally from Wisconsin, from Minnesota, and then has kind of like just moved his way over here. I think that's the vibe I'm getting, at least.
Okay. All right, last thing on that, actually. How much money, both Gruber and Nicolet, and Nicolet to me obviously is copying the Gruber strategy.
Yep.
And this, I imagine this could work. Like maybe me as a realtor, maybe I should do this. I should just like put my life savings into marketing everywhere I can find all the billboards, all the sports teams, everything. But yeah, but it seems like a risky, like, are they making enough money to pay for all that? Like, you better get a ton of business if you're going to market like that.
Yeah.
I'm very curious on what their budget is, both of those companies.
It has to be huge. I mean, Gruber has been like the sponsor of Wisconsin sports teams for a long time. Like that has to come with some money. But I do think you should do it. If you remember the movie I Love You, Man, which is one of my all-time favorites. You look familiar. Yeah, I do, guy. You pissed on my face at a Fuddruckers. That's the type of marketing I think I need you to have, Seth, is just having these urinal cakes everywhere and like just you can't go. And then we have to come up with a phrase for you. Title companies fear the...
Yeah, if we combine that strategy and like as much money as possible with the sports teams and the billboards and everything, that's a win-win scenario. Like, yeah, once we get off here, let's start figuring that out.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Okay. All right. Well, great questions again. Send us more mailbag questions at doubledribblebucks@gmail.com. Subscribe and rate us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts, and follow us on Twitter at PodDDB. Until next time, go Bucks.